first, let me give you guys the lyrics. In case you want to read it as we go, you can. I would recommend that you watch, because as a performance there's raw emotion involved. But if you need to follow with the lyrics, it's totally good too. And we'll be having a fairly text-based discussion afterwards.
And I'm in the now, and it don't take no X-ray to see right through my smile. Oh no, I'll be on the go, but it ain't no track out there that can numb my soul. Oh no, all we want to do is take the chains off. All we want to do is break the chains off. Yeah. All we want to do is be free. All we want to do is be free. All we want to do is take the chains off. All we want to do is break the chains off. Yeah. All we want to do is be free. All we want to do is can you tell me why? Every time I step outside, I see my people die. Oh, I'm letting you know that it ain't no gun they make that can kill my soul. Oh no. All we want to do is take the chains off. All we want to do is break the chains off, yeah. All we want to do is be free. All we want to do is be free. All we want to do is take the chains off. All we want to do is break the chains off, yeah. All we want to do is be free. All we want to do is be free. Forget this shame, cause this ain't me. Though I'm eternally grateful to Jay-Z. We're so elated, we celebrated like Obama waited until his last day in office to tell the nation brothers is getting their reparations. Hey. A man can dream, can he? No disrespect in terms of change, I haven't seen any. Maybe he had good intentions, but was stifled by the system and was sad to learn he actually couldn't bring any. That's what I get for thinking. This world is fair, they let a brother steer the ship and never told him that the ship was sinking. But I got other to think about, like my bank account. Forget that watch, you paid too much for it. You ought to be ashamed when brothers back home be dreaded when the seasons change. Cause they ain't got no heat, and they ain't got no AC. Walmart distribution, find my homie, he just had a baby. You wonder why it's been so many B&Es lately, while brothers from the hood shooting like this is TNT lately. And since all the ballers leaving college early, I turn on the TV and don't see no brothers with degrees lately. Are we all alone, fighting on our own? Please give me a chance. I don't wanna dance. Something's got me down. I will stand my ground. Don't just stand around. Don't just stand around. All we want to do is be free. All we want to do is be free. All we want to do is take the chains off.
So that was a version that was a little slowed down. You guys could do that. But I wanted to start with saying we should go over the lyrics just take a second to go over the lyrics and pick out a few concrete ideas or quotes that you think really stand out. And just take a few seconds to do that, and we'll discuss why they stand out, what you chose. At least one. Okay. So what are some concrete ideas and quotes you guys chose?
I chose the line, "Every time I step outside, I see my people die." And then I think this is still concrete when he says, like, "There ain't no gun that can that can kill my soul." And then I kind of connected that to the line where it says, "No disrespect in terms of change, I haven't seen any," because I think that that's like an example of him like not seeing change, like there's still a lot of death happening.
I kind of connected that, underlined that as well, because like Obama's slogan was change, and so when he talked about Obama earlier, he said, "Brothers getting their reparations, but I haven't seen any change. He had good intentions, but was stifled by the system," and I thought that was really strong. Because they talk about kind of this like proxy thing where you can put this black man as a president, but he's still stifled by the, just like kind of democracy, more or less, like kind of policy back and forth. So they let the brothers steer the ship, but they never told them that the ship was sinking. So it's like almost like, I feel like J. Cole is like saying it's like false hope almost.
Are there any lines in here that give you an idea of when this was written, and maybe in response to what?
Well, obviously recent, because he's talking about Obama.
Was it
Jay-Z.
Jay-Z? Was it like the Trayvon Martin?
Okay. And where do you see that?
Like it talks about like ain't no gun they make that can kill my soul. I see my people die.
There's one line in here that directly actually connects to Trayvon Martin. It's in the final bridge, and there's
Stand.
I will stand my
Stand my
ground,
ground.
which is in reference to.
Was that the George Zimmerman?
No,
one?
George Zimmerman.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in reference to stand my ground laws, which basically allow people to shoot others if they feel threatened. Okay. What do you guys? I'll give a little bit of background also. This was in direct response after the Ferguson shooting of Michael Brown. So Trayvon Martin had been shot down very publicly at the public trial. Michael Brown had been shot down in Ferguson. And in that, within the bigger context, was Obama's promise for change that more or less J. Cole feels hasn't been manifested. With that background, what do you guys think J. Cole's purpose for writing the song is, and where do you see that in the text?
Well, I think he's definitely like emphasizing a lack of change, and like trying to make us see like that not a lot has changed, maybe even since slavery in a way, because he's like saying take the chains off, and like that is a really strong image of slavery to me. So I think that he's like saying like all the way back to slavery, like we still have these chains on, like there's still so much oppression.
I see it in a couple different ways. When he has the line in the verse that says you ought to be ashamed, like it's almost like a call out, like a clap back to like kind of like this higher administration that's like still pushing people down, like Kimmy said, like kind of like oppressive. And then it's almost like a call to other black men and women, or women and men of color, because it says, I see all the ballers leaving college early and don't see no brothers with degrees lately. So he's saying like, are we all alone fighting on our own? So he's kind of saying like, don't give up. Like we need to keep pushing forward, and like in a sense, and that's kind of the like oppressiveness in it is that they still have to fight. You know, it's the thing where they have to fight twice as hard to get to the same point. That
in that line that you just referenced, you ought to be ashamed.
mm-hmm.
If you read the line above it and the line below it, do you get a sense that there is a specific audience that he's talking to in those three lines?
People with privilege.
And why do you think that?
Because he talks about expensive watches, and he also is kind of saying like you need to be aware of these people that are out in the cold. He's not talking to people in the cold. He's like, remember those people that are out in the cold.
I had a question. You wonder why it's been so many B&Es lately? Don't know.
Breaking and entering.
Breaking and entering. Okay.
I wanted to kind of hone in on the audience question, because there are several different times that J. Cole switches his audience. Two very specifically, and they're both actually on the back page, so they're towards the end of the song. The first time, which is what we just talked about, forget that watch, you paid too much for it, you ought to be ashamed. When brothers back home, be dreadful when the season change. That audience, I agree. I think he's speaking to an audience of privilege, or at least an audience that has the money to buy things, whether that is actual liquid money or credit, the ability to get items. And I see that as calling out, why are you spending your money on this stuff when your brothers are in the cold? And that actually references back to beginning of verse 3, where he says, forget this chain, because it ain't me, which references back to the slavery lines as well. But on that last page, is there a second time that you guys can see in the text when he switches the audience and maybe speaks to someone else?
I was thinking like, right, the first line of the bridge, are we all alone fighting on our own? So like other people who he feels are in a similar situation, whether that's like specifically black men or like people of color or just people of like a certain like point in life, or things like that. And then maybe he switches to the next line, please give me a chance, I don't want to dance. Like, so saying maybe back to the audience one that we talked of privilege and things like that.
Do you think that first line maybe, so you think he's speaking that maybe the first and second line to people of privilege? Is that what you're saying?
I was thinking that first line was talking to other people of color.
And then in that same bridge, do you see a switch maybe to someone else?
Is that
I thought Sarah kind of just said that when she's like the second, right? Didn't you say the second line can be switching to like back to people of privilege? Right?
Yeah, I was thinking also the last line too, don't just stand around, don't just stand around. Because that's like the essence of white privilege, is that we don't have to talk about race. And so if he's calling out, hey, don't just stand around, you need to do something.
Or could it be like the first line is addressing like people of privilege, and the next line is addressing the first line is addressing people who are like fighting for a cause, and then the next line is addressing people of privilege, and the last two are addressing both?